Hello, fans of ancient beasts. Here is one I never knew about. It's called Meiolania, and there's around 4 or 5 species recognized in this category of turtles or tortoises. It's up for debate. They found shells up to 1 meter, up to 2 meters long, so they suspect it might have been up to 3 meters long. They were never able to find a full tail, so they don't know how long that tail is. But they also suspect that tail could have been a club kind of weapon, like an ankylosaur. But it very much looks like one of those Galapagos tortoises, but it has horns, right? It's pretty cool looking, I think. So, okay, well, this thing would have roamed the Australian region in the Cenozoic period. Sorry, I don't know all this science stuff, but I'm trying to learn by collecting toys, and here's one of them. I don't know if this is, I'm not even sure if this is considered a toy, because it's basically a statue. So I've reviewed a bunch of the dino roll figures, but this Kong species here, they have this line called Beast Tonton. That's what I'm seeing there. But I've seen online the line is called Ancient Beasts. So I don't know. This is maybe wave 2 or wave number 2 within wave 1. I have a suspicion it's wave 2 and figure D. Because here you have the letters. So this is like some sort of giant ape, letter A, some sort of giant deer kind of thing, or elk. And then a giant snake, Titanoboa. I think that's what those Blood Orchid movie things were about, right? I don't know. So that's what we got today. So there's only 4 in each of these waves. And this is a massive box. This could be a massive figure inside of here. By the way, I've gone to some of these QR codes from the dino rolls, and some of them, they're dead. They're dead websites or something like that. So don't bother. Okay, man, this is such a vacuum. This is such a tight thing. I bought this from AliExpress, and it came in a bag, and unfortunately that's why the thing is all dented, because it wasn't double boxed. So if you're gonna give it away as a gift, probably not the best idea to buy from AliExpress, and that almost goes for everything from that website. Except for the cars. The resin cars I get are always double boxed. Alright, so here's a car that I've never seen before, and I guess it's a Chinese description of each of the things. What's a little bit weird is how they have this plate that shows a robotic inside. We'll have to get to that, of course. Yeah, so I tried this QR code thing and it went nowhere. And then I think these are individual ones, I didn't bother. But it looked like it was some sort of app to maybe learn about the figures they have. And so this is a waste of plastic. It's basically just a small image of the box. And then that QR code goes nowhere, and this is the bottom of the base. This website goes nowhere either. So here we have a photo, a little postcard, and then that cartoon image again. I think maybe this is the artist, TZ King. So really, I'm not sure why I need these 2 things. They're just wasteful. It's just garbage I had to buy, and the plastic is going to pollute the planet. Let's see, we have this nice foam, and actually it's a lot smaller than this box would indicate. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, maybe some of that deer one probably takes up the whole size of the box. That's probably why this one's big. I'm going to be careful pulling this out, because it might be brittle plastic, and I don't want the horns to snag and break. Like the other ones, I'm sure there's nothing under this foam, but let's take a look. Yeah, there's nothing there. Alright. This is a lot bigger than the dino rolls, that's for sure. I'll bring that out later. I think that's magnetic. So this is heavy, so I think it's a solid chunk of plastic. The overall length of this one is roughly, boy, you know what, let me get these images out of the way, they're kind of distracting now. I'm just roughing this in, of course. Maybe like 12 centimeters, or like somewhere under 5 inches. Height wise, I'm going to say it's 8.5 centimeters, maybe 3.5 inches. Somewhere in that ballpark. But I'm sure the other animals are different in sizing. We'll have to see if I end up getting some more to Depends on the quality of this one. It wasn't cheap, by the way. Maybe like 60 bucks or something on AliExpress. There aren't many people selling these things. I have a suspicion these are like garage kits. And by garage kit, they take like a silicone, someone sculpts it first, then they take a silicone mold, and then they pour polyurethane resin inside of there, and then they pull it out of the flexible mold, and then they have to paint it by hand. But we'll have to see. I guess we'll start at the bottom. So, I mean, I suppose it's nice to have these mechanical details, but I think it would have been nice to take one section of this and tell people what this is, the Meiolania, right? I'm never going to remember that, so now I'm going to have to put out a sticker or something and put it down here. So, yeah, it would have been just, I'd rather know what it is than see a bunch of random gears. This is plastic for sure, it's not metal. I mean, it's painted nice to look like brass and stuff like that, like steampunk, but it's definitely plastic. And then this brown is nicely painted. It's got a couple different browns, so it looks like wood grain. And then we do have this nice brass looking nameplate, like as if it was in the museum. Alright, so now there's no reason for me to complain earlier, because it does tell you what it is. The dyno rolls do not, so that's why I just automatically jumped to that assumption. But I'm glad that I'm wrong. I'm wondering if this is metal. It is cold to the touch, but yeah, you know what? That might actually be a piece of metal. It's significantly colder than the other sides. So that's really cool. Alright, that's partially why it's expensive, beyond the packaging. Alright, well, there's a lot of details going on here. First, I'm not sure why there's a bunch of buried horns in the dirt. It's kind of weird. The wood grain is nicely painted. And then we got some black claws there. They weren't painted perfectly, could have used a little bit more. But the sculpturing of the scales are nice. It's really small here, and then it gets to be a bunch of big scales, and then all of a sudden some bumps start coming into play, and they're like painted with a couple different paint washes. It almost looks like a tropical fruit, like a durian or something like that. You can see the belly of this thing has this like tan color and a brown paint wash, and then the skin is like a light tan, and this more brown paint wash, and it's like wrinkly here for the neck, and then it becomes scaly again, and then you got the big beak here. The nostrils are recessed quite a bit, and some brown paint wash in there. So the mouth is closed, as you can see. And then really big armor plates on the head, and they're really deep cracks between the plates, which is really nice, gives it a lot of depth. And then the paint wash is like a yellow with maybe some green dry brushing over it. But there's also a fade of this olive color, and that eventually goes up to these brown horns with a lighter brown there. And the horns have like a lot of, I don't know what you'd call those, like streaks. And maybe there's some dry brushing as well. There's a lot of different paint apps going on here. Look at the different asymmetric scales here. They're not, it's not a mirror image. That scale is clearly different than what's over here. The eyebrows are also scaled quite a bit. The eyes, they're just painted white, and there's a black dot there. There's no iris or anything like that. It's just a sclera and a black dot, and it's looking upwards. It's not quite mean. It doesn't look angry, but it doesn't look friendly either. It's like, what's up? Okay, well, going up here now, so we have a blue shell of all things. Quite interesting. It's sky blue first. There's a little bit of purple around here, and purple in the crevices. So I wonder, maybe they painted the whole thing like this dark blue / purple first, and then painted the sky blue on top. I don't know, there's a lot of washes going on, right? So there's some black up here as well. So a lot of different paint washes. And then, yeah, the plates are not they're always growing and changing in their size. It's very asymmetric as far as, the scales and how different they look. Even on here, now we have the underside of the shell, and it's like a tan to maybe an orange wash over it. And then this earth is nicely, I don't know, textured. The claws there, the claws on this foot seem to be better painted. They are quite sharp, it looks like, as well. The bottom of the feet are quite smooth and then wrinkly, and then these spiky scales. So it's like barely hanging off this thing. The thing is like bigger than the base. Interesting. This is a crazy tail. Right? It's like overlap, almost like a lizard. Like a, yeah, lizard tail. And then you got these big spikes in different kinds of greens here. Again, a lot of paint washes to have these transitions, it looks like. Very nice. It's definitely a rigid plastic. It's not soft like a PVC art toy. This is rigid. If this fell, this would break off. So that's why I'm holding it so securely. Yeah, this does look like a tortoise shell, though. I used to have a tortoise, or a couple different tortoises now that I think of it. And it had shells like this like radiating bunch of lines as if it was like a topographical map. Alright, this side here, yeah, alright. So now I guess we gotta open this thing up. It is quite visible, the seam, so I almost would even prefer it maybe to not have this opening panel so it just looks better. Oh, but wait a sec, maybe if I push that in. Oh, maybe that's not, well, you know, that's not so bad now. It just initially, it looked really gappy and weird. I guess if you look for it, you can definitely see that seam there, right? Because it's clearly not here. But from afar, I'm sure no one would notice, right? Alright, so I'm going to pull this horn, I guess. And so, I guess this is supposed to be a robotic tortoise, and these are the inner workings. Again, it's plastic, but it looks like copper and brass, or it looks like brass. So they did a bunch of paint washes, it looks like, you know, to make it look all oily and greasy, really dark in here, all these mechanical doohickeys and greebly effects. And then the eye here, yeah, so that's kind of neat. And then maybe that's the ear canal or something. And the base of the horn here. And some panels. A little curious what's the inside of this. Oh, look at this. So the inside is like a honeycomb pattern. And maybe these are magnets embedded in the plastic. Oh, you know, I have a magnet. Hold on. Oh, yeah, that is a magnet. It's resisting the polarity of this one. Let me see if well, let me just get a piece of metal. Yeah, so that is definitely a magnet there. A magnet there. A third magnet there. Just 3 magnets, but that's actually a decent amount. But I guess maybe it was kind of gappy up front because there's no magnet holding this front edge down. It's only here. So maybe if this thing wasn't molded perfectly, it might be bowed out too much. So if those are the 2 magnets here, this must be metal. Some sort of ferrous metal, and maybe that's why it's scratched. So that is that one, and then this is a second one, or you know what, these could be magnets. They are. So that's why it's a pretty strong bond, and there's the third magnet right there. So you actually have 6 magnets to hold this piece together, which is nice. It's very convenient to just magnetize it, but you might want to just squeeze it together, that last bit, to make it less gappy. Let me do it again. See, it's very gappy, but not so bad there. So that's a high quality cartooned mega tortoise. Oh, but see, look at this now. I squeeze the front, but look at the back. Look how raised and wacky that is. So I think this panel is definitely, or maybe it's the magnets that aren't fully laid flat. Well, so you might have to get used to it not looking perfectly tight. I guess I'd rather have the head tight than the shell. You know, I am a little curious though. I almost want to put like a jewel bead in there. Hold on a second. So you can buy these little arts and craft jewelry beads on AliExpress really cheap. So I bought them for Gundam Converges to put into the thrusters. But I figured I'd pop some in here because these are quite recessed. I don't think the outer plate's even going to touch remotely close to these things. So this is white poster putty. It's going to get covered by this jewel bead anyways. So just pop that in. And the poster putty doesn't react with anything. So if I want to take this out in the future, I could, but I don't even see a need to ever do that because I think it just looks a lot cooler having like a blue sensor there. And I'm going to have a red eye on this thing. So a tiny bit. I could also use school glue actually. Maybe I will because I think I'm going to push the putty out of... This is actually a flat surface in here, so if I put putty down, it's either got to be a really small amount of putty or I gotta clear this out, hold on. Alright, just a little dab of that school glue is in there already, and let's see if that's the right size jewel. It's good enough. It's not perfectly flat, but I'd rather have a bigger eye than a perfectly flat eye. I think if I just balance it correctly. See, so that looks neat, I think. And if I don't like it, I can just break it off because it's just school glue after all. And honestly, I'm never going to display it like this. I'm always going to display it like this. So again, the face thing, tight, very good. Well, let's see here if we fit it next to the dino rolls. So here's a Stegosaurus. You can just see how small it is. And here's a Kakarodontosaurus. I can never pronounce that, such a long name. The styling is definitely very similar. The way it's been sculpted and all that stuff is very similar. I do like how these actually have a base with the name on it. These I had to put on acrylic disc and use my label maker. But yeah, this is definitely a much bigger figure. So honestly, the way things are priced right now, this is a better bargain. These things are priced almost the same, if not more, than this, but you're clearly getting less for your money. One thing that is nice about these dino rolls are those are glass eyes. They're like half marbles or something like that. But I mean, those eyes, even though they're painted, they still look good. So, all right. Well, anyways, just I'd let you know. So all in all, this is pretty nice. I may try some of the other ones. I'm not sure if I'm in. Well, I guess that giant snake would be cool, even though snakes do freak me out. We'll have to see what happens. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you in the next Animo video.